All right, I'm here with the legendary Mr. Jim. Jim, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk to us.
Thank you.
All right, let's start right at the beginning. We'll go way back. What was it like growing up in Lodi, New Jersey?
Well, Lodi was probably a typical, town, except that we had, I think, more than your average amount of musicians in Lodi. A lot of people were playing.
Was that just the thing to do? Because it seemed like everyone in Lodi played. It was just like that was what was going on.
That's kind of what it was. Yeah, it was a strong music scene. People liked their music.
Was it covers, or were people starting to write their own material, or?
Well, originally covers. When you're young, you're not writing yet, but you're listening to records and you're playing them and playing out. We had dances every week at the local gym or whatever. There was always a different band, so it was lots of music.
Now, how did you meet Glenn Danzig?
It's a long time ago. We actually had a cover band years before the Misfits. It was called Thru and Boojang, and it was me, Glenn, Stevie Lynn, who's another Lodi legend, and Jerry
Yes,
Biles.
hello, Stevie. We know him.
You know Steve?
Yeah.
And we started a cover band and we played dances and a little bit here, a little bit there, and kind of evolved.
Do you remember what some of the songs you were playing was?
Yeah, we did a lot of stuff people never heard. We did a lot of. Now this is just to get a frame of reference. It's probably 1974, 1975. So at that time, what was really current music was not great. We were starting to get the corporate stuff. So we went back. We did a lot of Velvet Underground. We did a lot of Free, Savoy Brown, Doors, like stuff that was probably 7 or 8 years old, rather than stuff that was, we weren't doing Eagles, we weren't doing Yes, none of that stuff.
So you're doing earlier stuff?
Yeah, stuff that rocked a little more.
Was Glenn just singing? Or was he
Glenn
doing
singing, had a little electric piano that he played a little bit. Not every song, but here and there. And we had bass drums and guitar.
Now that was just strictly a cover band, right? You guys never did anything original-wise?
That's correct.
Okay. At any point, did you ever know of Jimmy Battle or Diane DiPiazza?
Yeah.
Both of them?
I believe I played with Jimmy. We jammed once or twice, I think in his basement, if I remember right.
With Glenn, or?
Yeah. I think it had to be with Glenn, otherwise I wouldn't have known. And Diane I jammed with once or twice also in Glenn's basement. Right, I don't know if this was before Manny or after Manny. I think it was before Manny, but I'm not 100% sure. I know it wasn't, the word Misfits had never been mentioned yet, so.
Was it
Probably
covers?
before. We did a few covers. We were just kind of messing around. Nothing serious. We're seeing, where something might be able to go or whatever. But I was doing other stuff at the time, so I kind of let it go.
Okay. So now you had said that you were also playing in another band at the same time, right?
Right.
And that was the Continental
Crawler, yeah.
So the band splits up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming who you gotta say it. I can't say it.
Boojang.
Kudan Boojang. What did it even mean? Where did that come from?
It was just
a thing.
A bad night. We'll leave it at that.
All right. All right. So a bad night came up with that name, and then that band splits up, or
yeah, that band kind of splits up. Well, I leave the band.
and go to Continental Crawler.
Well, it was a couple of years between. It wasn't right away. But I know Steve and Glenn and another friend of ours, Charlie Jones, the late Charlie Jones, great guitar player from Lodi. They had a little thing going called Prostitutes of New York.
Yep.
And they played in Manhattan a few times. But I wasn't part of that. I don't even remember who the drummer was.
Manny.
Was it Manny?
It was Manny.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So your thing predates Pony,
Yes.
and then Glenn splits off and starts doing Misfit stuff with Manny, or comes up with the name of the Misfit, starts doing that. And at that point, you're playing in Continental Crawler?
I'm playing in Continental Crawler. I get a call from Glenn, because I hadn't even met Jerry or Frank yet. So it had to be Glenn that called me. And he says he's putting something together, doing something. And he was looking for a drummer. So I said, yeah, well, we'll jam, we'll see what happens with it. And then, we started playing, fooling around and stuff, and next thing you know, there we go.
Did you see the Misfits when Glenn started doing the Misfits, Manny and Jerry? Did you wind up going to see them at all?
I might have seen them once. I might have been at Eddie's Lounge, yeah.
So you knew of them? You knew what they were?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, when he approached me and said, I'm looking for a drummer, I wasn't sure what he was up to,
Mm-hmm. You go down, you audition, or Glenn had already played with you, so you knew you were a good drummer.
Mm-hmm.
And probably just said, here,
right.
You got the gig. You guys start doing shows, start playing at like the show plays.
Show plays, Max's Kansas. Our first show was at Max's Kansas City, actually. We played there I don't know how many times. Show place. We played at a couple of little places that just like are, we're there for like 6 months and gone. Like I know we played at FIT once. Other places I can't remember. But
There's an unknown club that you supposedly played in Philadelphia and one in Ohio. And no one knows like if those shows actually ever happened.
Well, it wasn't there.
It's supposed to be your time. It's supposed to be when you played.
No, we played in Detroit and Toronto. That's pretty much it out of the area.
Okay, so never Philadelphia or Ohio. Okay. So that timeline's wrong.
After me or before me, I don't know.
But not with you.
No.
You remember the show place. You remember Max's Kansas City. How were those shows? Do you anything that stands out? Max's is like such an iconic club that
it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
It's like you get up, you do your set, and then you're gone. I mean, it's always fun. I mean, it was one of the best clubs ever, Max's.
Oh, iconic.
But and I played there with so many other bands that things kind of here 40 years later they kind of blend into each other.
Sure. Do you remember the recording sessions for what would become Static Age?
Mm-hmm. A little bit.
Were there, when you recorded that stuff, do you remember doing like multiple takes of songs or different versions of songs?
Not a whole lot. We might have done a few, maybe once or twice, because a lot of this stuff, when we did the recording, I was kind of new yet. So I knew the songs, but I didn't know the songs great. So I probably screwed up a few times, I'm sure.
You can't tell on the recording.
Well, they can fix that.
What do you remember? What gear you used to record that record?
What year?
Gear, like what type of drums, anything.
Exactly, no. It was whatever the studio provided it. So,
also, it was an in-house drum set. You just went in
I didn't bring
and
my own stuff. No.
So you went in and recorded it. Was the intention back then, like, did you guys discuss, like, okay, we're gonna put out a record, or was it just like you were just recording a whole bunch of songs? Like, did you have plans to release a record at that time?
Well, that I'm not sure. That was kind of left to Glenn. You know how we got that original studio time, right?
About the blank records?
Yeah. So it was just basically, from what I could see, take advantage of it and get some stuff recorded and then figure out what to do with it later. That's kind of the vibe I got from it.
Were there like any tapes for you to go by when you were learning that Misfit stuff, or was it you got together in the garage or whatever?
Yeah, we got together in the garage.
Was it Jerry's garage, or was it?
Yeah. First it was Jerry's basement, then we moved to the garage. He built a little stage in the garage. It was nice. Yeah.
As you guys rehearsed in there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember any other songs that you played with the Misfits that weren't on the record?
Yeah, I played, we did them live. Who Killed Marilyn? We did Were Eagles There? There's one other one. Well, my mind is shot.
Don't wait.
Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead, yeah. That was the one before Horror Business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, quickly, we're going to track by track this thing and get any details on any tracks Mr. Jim remembers So here we go. Let's go track by track on Static Age.
Okay.
Starting with the first song, Static Age. Anything you remember?
No, just, I mean, to be easy, the first 3 or 4 songs
Yep.
were easy. I knew them, you know, I knew them all going in very well, so smooth sailing. Return of the Fly is the only song on the album that I did any overdubs. I double tracked the intro. Hybrid Moments was pretty straight ahead. 138, I was probably a little iffy on going into the studio, but I pulled it off. Teenagers was fine. Comeback was fine. Angel Fuck was a little tough to do. That was a little hard. Hollywood Babylon, easy. Attitude, I didn't know exactly. I had a couple of other things I wanted to do in it, but I never got to it. Bullet was tough, too fast. And Theme for a Jackal, I barely knew, but I got through it. She, I knew that was one of the first ones we practiced, and Spinal Remains and In the Doorway were kind of iffy. They were a little bit newer. So.
You had said that you had recorded that stuff, the Static Age recordings, before you had even done a show.
Correct.
So this stuff was like totally brand new to you.
Yeah, it was new to me.
Did you guys have any merchandise that you remember having at the time?
We used to make buttons. Actually, Glenn used to make buttons and, you know, handmade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you guys would color them or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you ever make any of them, or was it just all him that made
It was
them?
pretty much all him. He's a, you know, an art guy, so he was good at design and stuff like that.
So the
I mean, I
record.
probably pressed the thing a couple times, you know, to form the button, but
Yeah.
I had nothing creative. No.
So none of the silk screening of the 7-inch covers or any of that stuff. That was all him.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with any of that.
No shirts that you remember or anything.
Well, I mean, I remember the shirts, but again, nothing I designed or anything. No.
But you did have shirts at the time, like actual Misfits shirts, or
I'm sure there were, you know. I mean, there had to be, but do I remember a specific one? No.
these are the things every fan is hanging on right now. It's like, what are their shirts? What do they look like? I know that you guys did have
I
Bullet.
mean, I distinctly remember the buttons, you know, and I remember the artwork, and I remember the Bullet, the lyric sheet, and that stuff. But shirts, I don't really remember, but that doesn't mean they weren't there.
How much leeway did you have in putting down the drum parts to those songs?
Well, I mean, he would kind of tell me like what he wanted, but I would kind of do something and say, "Is that what you're talking about?" You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like the beginning of Hybrid Moments, you know.
Yeah.
Like, is that what you want? Yeah, that's good.
Do you remember? Okay, so Frank leaves the group, and then you guys played 2 more shows
Mm-hmm.
with was it Rick Riley?
Richard, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember those shows at all?
Yeah, those were in Toronto.
How are those? Anything that stands out in your mind? How was he as a guitar player? Or
He was a good guitar player. He was actually kind of new at the guitar at the time. But I mean, he fit right in. Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of experience. He had a band called The Victims, so we played with a million times, and they were a great band. And yeah, so he was able to just come in and do what he had to do.
And is there anything that you're aware of in terms of recordings of you guys, of you playing with them at like at any point in time, like anything, whether it be video, audio, or anything? Have you ever seen anything or anything that one time existed, or?
Nothing I know of. I mean, I would love to see a video if somebody's got one, but no, I haven't.
And nothing audio-wise?
Not really. Our first gig at Max's, a friend of mine who has since passed recorded it, and but I haven't heard it in 40 years. So.
On a cassette tape?
On a little cassette tape. I don't know what happened, but yeah.
So it existed at one time.
It existed at one time.
Yeah, that it existed somewhere in the world.
Somewhere,
as a cassette
it did.
tape of
It
that
did.
Max's show.
Yeah.
All right, so you play those 2 shows with Rick Riley filling in,
Mhm.
and then you decide you're gonna leave the band, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I just had too much on my plate, and I decided to go Continental Crawler.
Was that?
Which was the wrong move at the time.
Yeah. I mean, there's that. But was it just was it not your kind of thing? You weren't like a punk guy? Or was it just...
Honestly, I find that playing punk drums doesn't give a drummer enough leeway to do stuff, to actually be a drummer.
Sure.
It's a very kind of tight, what do you call it, forum.
Yeah.
You have to, you can't express yourself, I guess is a better way to put it.
Yeah, you're just a machine.
Yeah.
4/4 in the pocket, that's it.
Right.
You can't really...
Yeah.
And so you wanted to just branch out as a drummer. And
Mm-hmm.
Did you just not think that, like, were the Misfits just not doing... Because that's one thing, like, I know later on, obviously, the crowds were bigger, but at the time you were playing, how were the audiences? Were they really receptive to you? Did you guys have a small following?
Small but receptive, we'll put it that way.
Okay.
The people that came to see us, they loved us, but smallish. I mean, it started getting bigger probably right after I left. Once Bobby and Joey came in, they started doing different venues and stuff and started touring more. So that's when they built the following, probably.
Well, they also changed their image too. It became more horror-based.
Became more horror, pop culture.
Yeah.
Less pop culture, more horror. Yeah.
Do you think you would have fit with that, or no? So you wouldn't have had the devil lock, and you wouldn't have. No. Okay. So you do Continental Crawler. You guys record some material,
Right.
and it does. I know you put out a cassette tape at least.
Yeah.
How did that do? Did you guys play around Lodi or New Jersey, or was it?
We pretty much played the same clubs we played as the Misfits. Played at CB's, we played at Max's, New York clubs that no longer exist, Jersey clubs, Showplace in Dover many times. The same circuit.
So you played CB's with that band?
Played CB's with Continental Crawler, yeah.
Were you guys like, why did you guys go over well there? Because I mean that's...
We weren't punky enough.
Yeah, I was gonna like at least from what I heard, I'm like...
Yeah, we were more poppy than punky, yeah.
So you probably did better in more of the dancey oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you do Continental Crawler, you release a cassette tape, that's out. I know you released the 7-inch too. How long did you stay in that band?
Well, we hung around for quite a while, a couple of years. And we had like two different factions. Like there were certain places you could play, but you had to be a cover band. So we knew like 100 covers.
Sure.
So we would one night play at this place and do covers. Then we played a place like Max's and do our own stuff, So we were like kind of two different bands.
And that stuff is that stuff available now, or like is it like can people get that, or is it just out of print, or?
No, the only stuff that's available is the CD.
Of that.
Yeah.
And is that like a complete works? You guys?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, we didn't do a lot we did one like solid session where I think we did about 15 or 16 songs. And, we didn't record any covers. We just recorded our original stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's available.
Continental Crawler, you leave that band.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next project that you do?
I started a band with Richard from the Victims. Had a few different names. We finally settled on the name Aces and Eights. Played at Max's, I can't count how many times. Did some recordings, which I'll also let you hear before.
Oh, cool.
And that went for a little while, and then that kind of dissipated. We had myself, Richard, great guitar player from Lodi named Joey Bark. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's another Lodi legend. And we had a lot of different bass players.
What year would that have been?
This was 82, 83, maybe 84.
What kind of material was it? Was it like...
It started as kind of like power pop, close to being punk. It kind of morphed into country, believe it or not. That's the way things were going back then.
Everybody was going country.
Yeah. Not country like I don't want to use the word country rock because then you're going to think the Eagles, and it's not like that.
Molly
Like
Hatchet?
No, not Southern rock. Like a hard-edged rock and roll based country influenced.
But you guys are from North Jersey. Where's the country in North Jersey?
Well, that's what was going. I mean, that was like the last thing to listen to back then. Classic rock was shot. Punk was
Yeah, all out.
getting old already.
Yeah.
So what's next? So we started, and we all knew it. I mean, it was all based on stuff from the 50s, so we all knew it, because we were older.
Sure.
Yeah.
So power pop like Cheap Trick? Ish. The Knack?
Yeah, I don't want to go that far, but do is I'll let you hear it and
Then you can
be
decide.
the judge. Yeah.
All right. So that's 82, 83, and that's with Rick, who from the Victims, who you did the last two Misfits shows with.
Correct. Right.
And you recorded some original material. Did that ever get released, or
No.
no? So that's not totally unreleased.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm guessing that didn't go any further, and you left, and
I left, and I didn't sit behind a drum set for 20 years.
wow, why? Just
I had enough. Said I'm done. And then I got the urge again, started jamming a little bit, and then I started a band called the Ecstatics with a local guy from had a band called the Bad Hormones.
okay. How was that punk stuff, or was that?
Yeah, it was again punk-ish. I got a couple things you can hear later. But that was with the bass player from the Victims, Steve Berman, Mike Myers, who I was in Continental Crawler with, myself, and the singer, Paul.
So when was this? 20 years? That would have been.
This was
2002?
Let me get my timelines right. Yeah, probably closer to 7 or 8. 27, 2008.
Wow. So yeah, 20. You just were fed up with the music business, or you just?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what it was. You'd had enough.
Mm.
So you guys recorded some stuff with that band?
Yeah,
And
just a couple of homemade things. Yeah.
Nothing that came out?
No.
So your whole catalog of music is impossible to get, just letting you know. You can't get any of it. It's it was all recorded, you just can't have any of it.
Well, when you leave, you'll have some of it.
So all right. So you did that project, and did you wind up doing a couple of other things?
What I did after that was I got the urge. For whatever reason, I became a big fan of surf music.
Surf music is great.
So I grabbed a couple friends and I said, let's play some surf music. And we just started screwing around with surf music, and we came up with this band. We called it Monkey with a Gun. And we released an album, and we played a lot of gigs playing surf music.
And how was that? I mean, that's a completely different style from what you're...
Oh yeah, nobody knew what to think. Yeah.
Over the years, did you have people that kind of followed you, like, hey, that's Mr.Jim from the Misfits, like, kind of expecting you to maybe do something Misfits-ish, like a punk kind of thing, or you just...
No, not that I know of, no.
Okay. Seems legit. Okay, so just to rewind a little bit, the only thing that originally came out, there's two things originally came out. There was the Bullet 7-inch, and there was Beware that had you playing on it.
Yeah.
Side A of Beware. When there was talks about Static Age coming out, how did you feel at that time? Like, this would have been 96. How did you feel at that time knowing, like, that whole body of work that you had recorded was finally going to come out?
Oh, I felt great. I mean, I was glad, And it first came out in that box set, the Coffin box set.
Yeah.
It was included in that, and I think then they released it on its own after that, if my timeline is right.
Yeah, with a few bonus tracks. It was in
Yeah.
the Doorway and Smile Remains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was happy it finally came out. Yeah.
Were people really surprised that, like, hey, like, you do? Because I mean, unless you owned the Bullet set record from back in the day of Beware, it wasn't until way later that body work finally comes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was recorded in 77, 78, and it got released in 96, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Almost 20 years
almost 20
later.
years. By then I was kind of, out of the scene.
But it must have been pretty cool for you to finally have something that,
Oh, yeah.
full-length record that you...
Absolutely, yeah.
How do you feel about that record now?
I still listen to it. I think it's a great record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite track from it?
There's so many. I like Teenagers from Mars. I like Comeback. I like Theme for a Jackal. I like the whole album.
Yeah, it's a solid record.
Yeah.
great drumming on it. I mean, and
Yeah, well,
you did good. You did good. To this day, I mean, I'm sure you have fans that, you know, either get in touch with you or try to, like, you know, find out more about the Misfits stuff. That's kind of got to be cool that you recorded something that's left a legacy.
No, it is cool. I think it's great. And I'm glad that people now are still, like, appreciating it. You know, it's a long time.
Sure.
40-something years.
When you listen to it, do you think to yourself, oh, I should have added a fill there, I should have added a thing?
You're always, you're never happy. Yeah.
So, what's the most recent stuff that you've I can't say that you've released because you're not letting anyone hear anything, but there's there's at least a bunch of other stuff recorded. What was the most recent project that you've done?
The most recent one was the Monkey with a Gun stuff, the surf music. That was done 7 years ago, so 2010, 2011.
So do you still play now?
When I can. I'm actually looking for something. In Florida, I played a lot of blues.
Just playing guitar?
I keep looking at you, I should be looking at them, right? How you doing? I'm
Just looking.
I played a lot of blues and stuff in Florida. You know, they have just like open jams down there, so I would just sit in and stuff, but nothing specific. But I'll find somebody.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So he's looking, ladies and gentlemen. He's looking. He's in the market. I think that wraps it up. All right, Mr. Jim. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us.
Thank you, guys.
Let's hopefully get some of the other material that he's played on released, which would be great. So you guys can finally hear some of that stuff too, instead of just Static Age, which is amazing, by the way, even though I know you wish you had done a couple of things differently. Nobody would agree with you, I'm sorry. Everybody is 100% happy with what you did.
I'm glad you guys like it.
All right, so thank you. Hang out at like Lodi Pizza or like, you know, you guys were Lodi Pizza guys?
Now and then, you know, never. I'm a little older than the rest of them. Glenn is kind of close to my age. Jerry and Frank, I probably have like 9 or 10 years on. So I never, like I never even met either one of them, even though we're all from Lodi, until the Misfits.
Oh wow.
I didn't know them. I didn't know who they were, you know.
So were you a Lodi Pizza guy?
I spent some time there, yeah.
What about Cardi's Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, good. All right.